Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about how I developed as a critical reader in my English 201 honors class at Sacred Heart University. First off, I'm going to start with the reader response theory. Reader response theory is a way in which we as readers can interact with a text. I was able to interpret a text we read in my own way that was unique and different from everyone else, and everybody else had their own interpretation of that text. I saw how discussing the text with the others made me realize many things I wouldn't have realized on my own. For example, when we talked about the things I carried, someone mentioned that maybe Martha wasn't even real. That really surprised me and made me think about the story in a completely different way and gave the story a deeper meaning. Through closely analyzing the text, I also saw how the style of writing gives the book a specific tone. In the things I carried, the constant repetition of the word carry sometimes even sounded like machine gun shots. Reading strategies are very important to better understand the text that we are reading and to do a good analysis of it. I learned that rereading the text was very important as I was able to understand the story better. The first time that I read The Sympathizer, I didn't understand that the main character was a spy. It only became clear to me after reading it for the second time. I found it very useful to underline and circle any important lines in the text. Since English is not my first language, I found myself looking up many words that I didn't understand. I saw how this made me develop my vocabulary, which was one of the things that I was hoping to achieve when I entered this class. When closely reading a text, it was very useful to write my notes, ideas, and questions in the margins. It was good to have those notes as I could easily look back at them and know exactly what to ask and talk about in the class discussion. In this class, we use many digital tools, and I really enjoyed that. We live in a world where technology plays a big role, and it's important that we know how to use technology when learning. The digital tools that we used were Blogger, Google Documents, online journals, and the digital timeline. However, my favorite one was Blogger. I've never blogged in my life, but I always wanted to. I never knew how to start my own blog and if I would have the time to do so. I saw that Blogger was very simple to use when writing a blog. I searched on the internet for ways to make my blog look nice. It took me some time to make it look the way I wanted to, but in the end, it was all worth it. I enjoyed sharing my ideas with the world and writing about the book I was reading. I tried my best to make the blog interesting by sharing videos and pictures that related to the book. Having a blog made me use the creative side of my brain, which I don't get to use so often. I made a lot of connections with what I learned in experiencing literature with my life and other classes. As someone who has moved to the USA only 9 months ago, I could relate a lot to Amir and Baba when we were reading The Kite Runner. When Amir returned to Afghanistan and they no longer consider him a real Afghan made me think about the many times that the exact same thing has happened to me in my own country. I saw how I'm not alone and that this happens to others too. I also made a connection to my science classes. I learned that good reading and writing skills are important when writing the laboratory reports or research papers. I also saw that writing a scientific paper is a little bit like writing an anthology because you have to read many scientific articles and integrate them into your research paper. I experienced many challenges in this class. The biggest one was definitely writing the anthology. I do not enjoy writing essays because it takes me a very long time to write a good essay. When the anthology assignment was given, I had a lot of work given in my other classes too, and I simply didn't feel like I had the time that I needed to write a good anthology. It was my first time I even heard the word anthology and wasn't really sure what I was supposed to write. But after meeting with Professor Hume, it became clearer what I had to do. Another challenge for me was to try and balance all the assignments given in this class with my other 10 classes. I learned that I needed to improve my time management skills, which I did, and it became easier and less stressful for me to complete all the assignments on time. My most memorable experience with literature in this class was definitely reading The Kite Runner. I absolutely loved the story and the style of writing. When I first saw how thick The Kite Runner was and realized that we only had 2 weeks to finish it, I thought I was never going to be able to read it. But I loved it so much that I read it in 1 week, whereas it usually takes me months to read a book this thick. I also managed to rediscover my passion for reading and started reading for pleasure after I read The Kite Runner. I've been looking for a book like The Kite Runner for a long time, and I finally found it. My aha moment was when I discovered that in order to become a better writer, I needed to read more books. I've always wanted to improve my writing because I was never happy with it. I realized by the end of semester, writing was much easier for me and that it is most likely because I read a lot of books. I can write my lab reports and other assignments with less anxiety than I used to. Before the end, I would just like to thank everyone for a wonderful semester, and here are my works cited. Goodbye.